Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant, and I want to thank all of you for joining us on the journey here today throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. That would be America. And to you listening here in the jeweled cities of the Ark-La-Tex, Shreveport, and Bossier, I want to thank you here in my native land of Louisiana. It is your native son speaking to you and welcoming aboard our friends up in southern Arkansas and East Texas. Glad that you could be with us today. Got a chance to go over to the Republican Women's Club earlier today, and a good friend, a mutual friend of Michelle, and I was speaking there. Karen Watson, businesswoman extraordinaire, you know, many accomplishments that she has had in the banking world, and gave an incredible message, and look forward to talking to her again whenever she comes back to town, and of course having her on the radio here with us for you to hear as well. Well, friends, coming up in the show will be Attorney General Jeff Landry, friend of the show, friend of mine, a person who I have incredible respect for, and it grows as the days go by. Last night, our Attorney General was on with Bill O'Reilly. If you didn't catch it, it is you can get the clip, and it was a fine clip. He represented well, and we'll talk to him about what that was all about here in just a few minutes. He'll be on with us. And then Cassie Hammett from the Hub Ministries and the founder of the Hub and the director of the Hub, along with Purchased Not for Sale, an incredible ministry that's going on right here in the Ark-La-Tex area in Shreveport, right downtown, and one that I want to give space to today. You need to know about it. You need to know of it. I learned of her through my pastor, Pastor James A. McManus, out at the Word of God Ministries. And, of course, he loves the ministry. The church, of course, contributes to it, and it is a worthwhile cause. And I want you to hear about it firsthand from Cassie Hammett when she is here live in studio with me at the top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Folks, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. That's the price that you have to pay for freedom. That's according to Thomas Jefferson, one of the framers of the framer of the Declaration of Independence. There's a price that comes along with freedom, and that is eternal vigilance. And that's part of what we'll be talking about with Attorney General Jeff Landry when he is on, because he's watching this thing develop that as far as immigration is concerned and also sanctuary cities are concerned. The price of our personal freedom is eternal vigilance. You have to always watch what is happening. There was a time when we could say, bring us your tired and your poor, and we'll make them strong. And even if they bring their songs along of their lands that they're coming from any other place in the world, we would sing along with them here in America. There was a time when we could do that. Anyone from any place in the world could bring their broken dreams to America, and we'd help them put those dreams back together again. And for those who come here legally and come here wanting to be a part of a nation where our dreams, as in the old Willie Nelson song, Living in America, where our dreams are made of steel, and where every man and woman want to know how freedom feels. There once was a time where we did not have to keep our guard up the way we do now. And folks, if you don't think you need to keep your guard up in this country, as far as the unlawful invasion of our nation is concerned, then you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. We see our children out of work now. In the black community, black teenagers hardly have any job opportunities across the nation. And folks, when we talk about even the minimum wage, and yes, it sounds like a wonderful thing. In fact, socialism itself looks really good. I mean, it looks fantastic on paper.
2 minutes.
Everybody gets all this stuff, and it's just a fantastic thing on paper, but it's never worked. And the reason why it has never worked is because of just that word, work. There are people who won't work. I don't care what you have given them. In fact, the more you give, the less the input is. That's a problem. In fact, it's a problem that the first Americans, the first European Americans, when they came to this country, that's a problem that they had. They actually tried a socialist system of government. But they found out very soon that there were people who wanted to eat the corn and eat the pigs and eat the livestock, but they didn't want to do anything to help raise them. It's almost human nature, I do believe, in so many instances when people don't earn the right to their daily bread. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. We're going to be back with Attorney General Jeff Landry in just a few minutes, and I want to thank some of our sponsors, Holmes, Honda, European, Bailey's, Fine Jewelers, Tiger Axle, Milam Cars, Giuseppe's, DavTac Custom Arms and Ammo, Signature Cleaning Service, along with Subway, and our friends at Chevyland for sponsoring this segment of the CL Bryant Show. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a couple of minutes. CL. Back with you on this Wednesday evening here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City. All of you folks in southern Arkansas and East Texas, take note, because I do believe our state will lead the charge in in leading the way to defending our nation against sanctuary cities that could very well destroy us if we're not careful. And also, I want to give accolades to our Attorney General, Jeff Landry, the right one that you elected to this office, for standing up and leading in this fight. Last night he was on Bill O'Reilly, and it was a good interview. Bill can be tough. I've been on Bill a couple of times, and Bill can be tough, but Jeff, you handled him really good. Welcome back, Attorney General Jeff Landry, to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Well, it's great to be with you, CL. It's always wonderful to talk to people like yourself, patriots like you, who are out there delivering a good message and helping to educate people as to how we make America exceptional again.
Absolutely, Attorney General. Let's get right into this conversation about a bill that is being proposed that will cut funding to states, or not states, but cities here in our state that might provide sanctuary to illegals. Tell us about that in detail.
That's correct. There were two bills this year that dealt with trying to prohibit sanctuary city policy in Louisiana. One of them was by Representative Valerie Hodges, the other by Representative Jay Morris. Unfortunately, Representative Jay Morris's bill, which is a good bill, seems like it's died by going into a bad Senate committee. Representative Valerie Hodges' bill has, to some extent, it's a little bit on life support. It is House Bill 1148, and this bill would deny cities who engage in sanctuary city policies the ability to access public financing for a project, basically prohibit them from being able to get to the bond commission and ultimately sell bonds for public projects. And that bill, we're hopeful, if people out there and listeners out there who want to help Louisiana lead, if they would call the state Senate at 225-342-2040 and express their support of that bill and make sure that we don't take the enforcement mechanism out there, Louisiana will lead the charge.
Give that number out again, Jeff, if you would.
That number is 225-342-2040.
Folks, that's 225-342-2040. And who are they calling, Jeff? Tell them why they're calling this number.
What they're doing is they're calling the Senate switchboard. That will either take them to their state senator, if they know who that is, or they can just tell that switchboard operator that they want to pass a note on to the Senate and Senate President John Alario that they support House Bill 1148 in its current form, and they believe it needs to be passed in its current form and sent to the governor for his signature. Support
House Bill 1148, folks, and you call your senator at 225-342-2040. This is to protect us, our Attorney General, who is charged with making certain that our state laws are enforced, and protecting the citizens of this state is encouraging us to do this because we are under threat from illegals, and there are sanctuary cities, New Orleans being one of them and Lafayette Parish being another, that is in this circle that we have to be vigilant over. Now, let me ask you this, Jeff. Ideally, most people don't know what ICE is supposed to do. And that we know that they're not doing maybe what they've been organized to do. What is ICE, and what are they supposed to do?
Well, ICE stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement, and what ICE is tasked with doing is basically enforcing our immigration laws in the country. They are supposed to ferret out people who have come into the country illegally and deport them. That is their job, and so. But under sanctuary city policies, what happens is that our local law enforcement officers in those particular municipalities are prohibited from calling ICE and saying, hey, we arrested this person on some other charge in violation of some criminal law that we have here in the state, and he is here illegally, and we want to know if you want to come get him and deport him. That's the problem.
So, in some parishes where there are, in some cities in Louisiana, New Orleans being the prime example, if an illegal is rounded up, caught, then they are prohibited from turning that person over to the proper authorities. Is that what you're telling us as taxpayers?
Yeah. Actually, it's even more. It's even more obscene than that. CL. What happens is that so that if an illegal in New Orleans gets picked up for, say, theft, burglary, OWI, speeding, and of course he'll be driving without a driver's license because he's not supposed to have one of those either. The law enforcement officers are prohibited from investigating his immigration status and then checking it against the federal database to determine if he may be wanted by ICE. And so they are conferring a greater right on someone in this country who's here illegally, by the way, than on their own citizens, our own citizens. Because when we get caught, if we do get caught doing something illegal, the police check our criminal history. They determine whether or not there are any warrants out there in other jurisdictions. And so in sanctuary cities, those police officers are prohibited from further evaluating those people in their custody based upon immigration status.
So the crime, and I want to ask you, stay with me through the break if you can. Attorney General Jeff Landry is on with us now.
1 minute.
Stay with me through the break because I want to ask you this question about the type of crime that they could commit and the type of crime that they probably have gotten away with that our citizens could be victims of, and nothing may be done about it. On with Attorney General Jeff Landry. Proud, I tell you what, he made us proud last night. Louisiana, you are leading the charge, and the person leading it is our AG, our Attorney General Jeff Landry. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. I want to thank Yoakum Toyota, Bretches Insurance, Dale's Paving, Bossier City, Harley Davidson for sponsoring this segment of the CL Bryant Show. Back in a few minutes.
Loves her mama, loves Jesus, in America too. She's a good girl. She's crazy about Elvis, loves horses, and her boyfriend too.
CL back with you on this Wednesday evening. Rainy day up here in the Arklatex, and I certainly hope that you're safe and sound wherever you are throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. And if it is to remain that way, I do believe we need to follow the lead of the Louisiana Attorney General, Jeff Landry, who is on the line with me now. And I was asking when we left Attorney General Landry about the types of crime that could be committed that could go unpunished because, or maybe these guys could actually be let go and wandering around here. Many of them left the country, come back. How often does that happen? And speak to that if you would.
Well, look, I'll tell you about the tragic event that happened in San Francisco, and this is a great example of an unfortunate situation of what's going to happen in New Orleans if the policy is not changed. In San Francisco, there was a gentleman who was wanted by ICE for a number of murders, okay, and then both in the United States and back in Mexico. That particular gentleman was picked up by the San Francisco police on a violation of some law in California, and because they were prohibited from checking with ICE, he bonded out, and so he got out of jail on a bond, and right after he bonded out, he 2 weeks later he murdered a young lady in San Francisco.
Yeah, Kate Shively. And in fact, I think there is a law, I think O'Reilly mentioned it last night when you were on with him, Kate's Law, where they should check on that now.
That's right. And so what happens is these sanctuary cities become safe harbors for terrorists, for the Mexican drug cartel, but because they know that they can go there, they can send illegals through our borders to these cities, and the opportunity for those thugs, for those murderers, for those criminals coming from different countries will not be deported because of those policies that are in place. That is the most important aspect of why we need to get rid of these policies.
Absolutely. And now make it clear for us, ICE will do their job, but the local officials, local law enforcement officials, are the ones who, under sanctuary city statutes, are prohibited from contacting ICE. And folks, let me tell you something. This is saying to you, the citizen, that you don't have a right to be protected against those who have no vested interest in your community or your country, because they're telling your law enforcement they shouldn't even call the people to come and get them. Is that a right read on that, Jeff?
That's correct. They undermine the basic tenets of law enforcement, which is to collaborate with different agencies in order to ferret out crime and take bad people off the street. See, you're exactly right. And when people don't realize, what happens is it's basically like handcuffing your police officers and then telling them that they need to go protect your community. You're supposed to handcuff the bad guys.
Right. Absolutely right. And folks, as all of you know, that if in fact we don't have our police officers don't have the ability to protect us, the alternative, even with those who are legal citizens, even with those who are born and raised here, look like you and me, if we don't have our police officers don't have the authority to protect you against the bad guys, as the Attorney General just said, then the alternative is unthinkable. And he described what was unthinkable out there in San Francisco. Now, the number that you should call is 225-342-2040. And you want, I'm going to have Attorney General Landry tell us that we are to stand in support of House Bill 1148. Is that right?
That's correct. You know, I'll give a big shout out, because I tell you what, out in the northwest corner of the state, 2 state senators have stood strong with us on that committee. Senator Milkovich and Senator Gaddy, both are on the Jude committee. And if you live, if they are your state senator, you live in that Senate district, you should call them up and commend them and tell them to stay strong with us on House Bill 1148. House Bill 1148, and you can reach both of them at 225-342-2040. 2040. If you don't live in that district, you can still call that number. And even if you don't live in Louisiana, you should call the state senate and tell them that you want Louisiana to lead the nation in eradicating sanctuary cities. And Louisiana can be a shining example of what other states can do. And if the federal government can't do it because of the Obama administration, states can do it one by one. We'll rise up and we'll get rid of these policies in this country.
Attorney General Landry, Jeff Landry, we were really proud of you. You made us proud last night. You stood tall, represented us very well. Folks, that number is 225-342-2040. And I do want to give a shout out to my good friend John Milkovich. He's a Democrat, but hey, I tell you what, he's standing strong in this fight. And the core values that John have are absolutely conservative core values. And Senator Gowdy, both of these senators, Senator Milkovich, Senator Gowdy, I want to thank both of you for your stance on this. Again, that number is 225-342-2040, House Bill 1148. One last word from you, Attorney General. I want to ask you about how dysfunctional a state can actually get if, in fact, we don't pay attention to this.
Well, what happens is it starts to break down the rule of law. And of course, when the rule of law is compromised, the ability to have an orderly, safe community, it then falls apart. And we know what happens then. Anarchy sets in, your economy goes down, your quality of life is diminished. Those are not the kind of things we want here in Louisiana.
Absolutely not. We have to leave it there. Jeff, listen, thank you for being a friend of the show, and thank you for standing up strong for our home state here, Louisiana. Attorney General Jeff Landry, God bless and keep you. I know that you'll fight the good fight. You are doing it, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
CL, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes with Cassie Hammett, director, founder of the Hub Ministries right here in Shreveport, Louisiana, and also purchased, not for sale. We're going to hear a lot about that when we come back. You definitely want to stick around. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere. We will return with more of the CL Bryant Show in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show. I am your native son, C.L. Bryant, broadcasting from the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City, my hometown. And I want to welcome aboard all of you throughout the fruited plains of this great land here to the show. Friends in southern Arkansas and East Texas, thank you for joining us as well. Joining me now is Cassie Hammett, who is the director and the founder of a ministry that is known as The Hub. And Cassie, I want to welcome you for the first time, and certainly not the last. The good Lord says the same to this show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad you're here.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Now, Cassie, I'm old enough to remember a time when if you went to church or if you had a ministry of any type, you had to look a certain way. You had to hold your body a certain way, whatever. You had to dress a certain way, all that type thing. Your approach to helping people is totally an evolution. It's revolutionary. I think it's Jesus's work. And I think it's the way that he would work it, and any of you can like it or not. I believe that. What was the catalyst that caused the Hub to come about?
You know, that's a really long story. The short of it was living in Shreveport. I was born and raised in Shreveport, and I just had this sneaking suspicion that there was a population of people who were experiencing poverty and homelessness and different burdens and oppressions that they were carrying, and that they weren't fitting into the normal social services categories. Maybe they were too far gone, maybe is what society would call them. But I also knew that if I could get to know them through friendship, and if people could know them through friendship, know their faces, know their names, know what they actually needed instead of guessing.
Yeah.
That we could maybe go down a really great road of seeing their lives change. So that was like one thing. The other side was I knew that our city was full of people, churches, organizations, schools, families, people who really wanted to help, but just didn't know how. It's kind of like, what do you just open the phone book and say, like, the homeless? You can't do that, right? So
it's not there.
The Hub was born out of this passion of seeing the poor taken care of, but through the vehicle of the church and of the community. So we that's the name, The Hub.
Yeah.
We became the center for, if you have a need, come here. If you want to meet a need, come here.
And what Americans sometimes do not understand, we had a gentleman who was born in Puerto Rico and had traveled the world in very poverty-stricken places. I've seen poverty in other parts of the world too. But what Americans don't understand sometimes is that there are people who don't have the basic needs of life.
Yes, sir.
Right here in Shreveport.
Yes, sir.
And that's what you saw. That's what you actually speak to. And then there's spiritual need,
Right.
Along with that, the whole person. How does a person? How easy is it for a person to become homeless? I mean, like that, or?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the homeless population and people in poverty in general, that, there's these kind of overgeneralized storylines that are told, like they're all addicts or they're all, mentally ill. And I think as we walk through life with people that we meet on a daily basis, we understand that they aren't all anything, that all of their stories are so unique and so different. And you hear so many stories of individuals who were successful by whatever definition, right? They had a job and a car and a house and a family. And something tragic happened. And that tragedy, in their life kind of began this kind of slow progression towards where maybe we meet them now. I will say that for me, what I've discovered is one of the biggest things that I hear that kind of is a common denominator among the stories that I hear is lack of friendship and lack of support. So like if our house let's pretend that our house burned down tonight and we lost everything we had. It would probably take me 30 minutes to have somewhere to stay, to have
Right.
clothes, to have
Right.
money.
Right.
My family, everyone would rally around me, and I would stay above the line of tragedy in a sense. Like I would kind of stay above being impoverished and going without. But that's because of relationships,
Right.
right? And so for people in poverty, they have a poverty of relationships that when that tragedy happened, they didn't have that support system that came up and said, hey, we're going to rally around you and we're going to keep you above the line of destitution, right? Like we're going to champion who you are. And so for us at the Hub, we lead with friendship for that reason.
I love what
Yeah,
you just
so-
said. You said something, and folks, don't miss it. Don't miss it. Because in so many cases, this is exactly the problem. A poverty of relationships is what Cassie has just shared with us. And I hope all of you understand how profound that is, because even in intact homes, in homes that are intact, there are sometimes this exists. And surely in a situation where there are people who find themselves on the street all of a sudden,
Right.
without any support, as you said, there is a poverty of relationship. Do they come from all over the country, or where do you see these people from?
Yes, sir. We see, some are from here. Some have been here their entire lives. Some have traveled here by train, what we call the train hopping, community. Some have just simply they're transient by nature. And so they are from all over the place as well.
Will you give your website?
That's right. Our website is www.thehubministry.com.
www.thehubministry.com. And Cassie, would you want to take some phone calls if they
Great,
got some?
yeah.
Folks, I'm encouraging you, and I'm speaking to the largest listening audience here in our listening area right now. And I want you to go to the website, www.thehub.com, visit there. And I would ask you to pray about clicking that donate button, because in order for us to come out of the dysfunction that so many times we all experience from time to time, and then to secure our communities, we're going to have to support, and we need to support ministries just like the one Cassie has. I'm C.L. Bryant, and we're going to return here with Cassie Hammett, the founder and director of the Hub Ministries. I want to ask you when we come back on the other side about counseling and counseling services that might be available throughout out of the Hub. I want to thank again Grubburger, Air Innovations, Rimmer Electric, Good Life, Health Food and Deli, and our friends over at Red Wing Shoes and Owner Builder Network for sponsoring this segment of the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.
We don't have no plastic LA friends, ain't on the edge of no popular trend, ain't never seen the inside of that magazine GQ. yesterday.
C.L. Bryant. Sometimes it does seem as though we're running against the wind when it comes to helping those who are in need in this country, those who come from among us. And in studio with me is someone who is doing just that. And her name is Cassie Hammett, who is director, founder of The Hub, which is a great ministry. Also, Purchased Not for Sale. She is also director of that as well. You know, Cassie, during the break, there was something that crossed my mind that really takes precedence over anything, I think, even in the minds of our listeners, that I want you to tell us about, make us aware of it. And then I want to talk about the model of the Hub. How often, or is it common to have women with their children coming to the Hub for help, and how do you go about that? How do you help them?
It's relatively common for us to encounter women who are living in poverty or even who are experiencing homelessness with their children, whether that's that they're living in their car, which is very common, or bouncing between homeless shelters, or couch surfing is what we call it, who they don't have a place to call their own. It's relatively common. And, for us, obviously when a woman with a child is in that situation, there's a hypervigilance to making sure that they get what they need, because they're in a more vulnerable place a lot of times than single men might be. Just because of having a child on the street or having a child living in that extreme poverty can be dangerous. And so we, anytime we encounter a woman with a child, we kind of go into go mode and just make sure, because a lot of times they have some services in place maybe, or they have somewhere to go, but we make double sure, that they're getting the resources that they need, and because it's just so important, especially for a child, to feel protected and taken care of. And so the Lovewell downtown, our building downtown, actually is a place that a lot of kids love to come and hang out and spend time. And so we've kind of become sometimes a little bit of a daycare in a sense of just watching these kids and making sure that they're getting something to eat and that they're being taken care of.
I want to ask you about the model. Before I do that, I want to give a strong shout out not only to my pastor, James A. McManus, but to Pastor Ben Pirtle and his lovely wife, Callie Pirtle. And they're lovely people. And Ben, I am definitely going to take you up on coming down and sharing with the people at the Hub. And folks, I want you to go. Please go to thehub.com.
It's
Hub,
the Hub,
hub.
The Hub Ministry.
The Hub Ministry.
Yeah, the Hub Ministry.com.
thehubministry.com. And I'm talking about a very worthy cause right here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. Now, Callie, what is the particular model that you use to form this ministry?
Well, at the Hub, we use a pretty unique and kind of upstream, I guess, swimming upstream kind of model. We believe that at the end of the day that everyone was knit together in their mother's womb, like Scripture says, and built with by God with the ability to do things and to tend to their life and to be a part of their life, and with skills and values and worth. Just because they're living under a bridge or addicted to a drug doesn't mean that those original intentions for their life aren't still there. And so our belief is that our job is to kind of uncover that original destiny for their life, to be active and participate. And so at the Hub, in our building downtown at the Lovewell Center, we actually run 4 businesses inside that building. It's called the Lovewell, but our laundromat is called the Smellwell. Our food pantry is called the Eatwell.
The Smellwell.
Yeah. Our clothing store is called the Dresswell, and we have a coffee shop called the Drinkwell. And in those businesses that we run, we serve, and the resources that we give are things that people in poverty need, whether it's clothes or laundry, food, bus passes, but none of it's free. So the way that we work is that everyone who comes through our doors is given a debit card that looks just like a bank card. And then they're given a schedule of classes and different opportunities to earn credits on that card.
That's
so
beautiful.
whether it's a GED course, a jobs, we have a Jobs for Life course, financial literacy that's actually called Donuts and Dollars because no one was coming to financial literacy, so we changed it to
donuts.
right now it's like super popular. Yeah, parenting, anger management, celebrate recovery, 2 discipleship Bible classes. We had 1 Bible class, standing room only. We had to open up a second one.
Wonderful.
And so those classes are running every day, and so they come and they earn credits depending on the class that they're going to. They can do projects, they can clean up around downtown, they can pick up trash. We give multiple ways for them to earn credits, and then they can shop inside of our stores. So the cool part about that is that they've earned the things that they walk out the door with, right?
Fantastic.
There's this idea that
It's theirs.
I did this, right?
Yeah.
Like I showed
I love
up
that.
and participated, and I earned this instead of
I
someone
love
just gave it
that.
to me.
I love
So-
that. Let me ask you this because I want to get this part in here, squeezed in here before we go to the break. Introducing, you talked about Bible study, introducing some to Bible study. A lot of these folks came out of church backgrounds,
That's
but then
right.
there are some who may have never been
heard it. That's right.
into the church. Do you wade in? Do they know coming in that this is something that will be a part of the curriculum?
Right. So for us, when they come through the door, they're hearing about the Lord. They're hearing about the Bible and what God says about their life. Not in an aggressive way where they don't feel like they can come in if they don't believe it.
Right.
You know, we kind of believe that you belong before you believe. You know, you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have to believe to belong.
Yeah.
So, but for us, the way that we teach the Bible is they come into our class and we just teach it to them as if it were you and I. You know, we don't shy away from the meat of Scripture, and we really do it. Our Bible teacher, our staff pastor, Miles Roberts, who's actually Callie's brother, teaches it at a pace that they're able to kind of work with the pace that he teaches at, and they can ask questions and he goes in depth on their questions. And you know, what we are watching happen is this, you know, we have about 40 or 50 that attend that class pretty regularly, and they're just so hungry for the Word of God, and they're hungry for it in the form that they're getting it, which isn't religious, and it's not a church service. It's just we're sitting in this room and we're just dealing with Scripture. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's incredible.
When we come back on the other side, and Callie, there are so many nuggets, so many pearls that you've given here tonight, and other folks don't have to believe to belong. And when you think about the makeup of the world that our Creator placed us in, long before any of us after the fall of man ever believed we belonged in this world. And folks, I really believe that you should find a way to belong to this ministry yourself. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. We're going to be back with Callie Hammett, director, founder of the Hub Ministries, when I return.
Day by day, night after night, blinded by the neon lights. Hurry, hell, hustling there. No.
CL. Wednesday in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex. We are here talking to the director of a ministry that I'm certain, in fact, the good Lord willing, I'm certain I'm going to be closely associated with. Let me tell you why. All of you know me, and one of the principles, one of the main tenets of who I am throughout the nation is the free market and advocating people participating in the free market and the benefits of capitalism. The same God that gave us life gives us liberty. And that is the liberty to, in fact, pursue life, liberty, and happiness through our God-given gifts. And Cassie, through when we were there in the break, it struck me like a ton of bricks that the tools that you give to the people who come through the hub are just those tools. You actually help them help themselves.
Yes, sir.
To get back into the game.
Yes, sir.
And play it the very best that they can.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about it.
You know, for us, our desire is to not be necessary as a ministry. Honestly, we would love to not be necessary. And what I mean by that is, you know, we aren't like that scared mother who never wants their child to grow up, right? We, when we encounter people who are in addiction or mental illness or homelessness or sexual exploitation, whatever, you know, our greatest desire for them is for them to get out of that, right? Like, we want them to become who God created them to be. We believe that's the justice in their life is when they're freed up to be who God made them to be. And so, you know, for that to happen, we've got to give them tools. We've got to give them practical tools. You know, a lot of times when people hear about Christian ministries, they think all we do is sit in a circle and, you know, sing Kumbaya and Jesus loves you and give them a sandwich and send them on their way. But the reality is that we give them super practical tools that, if they use them, would get them out, would get them at least steps towards being self-sufficient. You know, we don't have some sort of goal of what we want their lives to look like. We don't have some sort of American dream that we parade in front of them and say this is success. But for us, we want them to be self-sufficient.
Right.
We want them to be whole and happy and at peace. But we want them to be able to live life on their own without having to exist on what someone will give them.
Let me tell you something else, folks, that's very attractive to me about this. And that's what Cassie has just said. Her goal is not to be necessary for this crop that is coming through now. You do understand that when big government steps in, they want them to remain necessary. They want, that's how you keep, the big government keeps their hand in your pocket, is because they want people to become codependent upon them. Cassie, on the other hand, is wanting them to become self-sufficient, because there's always another crop of people coming through.
Yes, sir.
Always. Listen, folks, as far as Jesus said it, folks, the poor, they're going to be with you always. We had him here physically with us on earth for just a little while, but the poor, you're going to have with you always. Now, let's talk about counseling. You offer counseling along with all of this as well. What are they? How does that work?
So through the hub and through Purchased, one of the big pillars of what we offer people in poverty, or for our women that we work with, is mental health resources, counseling. We have all sorts of counselors that provide just your basic weekly, one-on-one counseling. We have group counseling, addiction therapy, sex therapy, sexual addiction therapy, trauma recovery, trauma response therapy. We have a pretty stacked team of counselors who this is another incredible thing about the hub is we have this army of people who come and give their services for free on a weekly basis to the people that we serve. And so it's a big pillar of ours because we believe that poverty is systemic, and it's usually a systemic heart issue and mind issue. It's not just the material, and the physical things. And so, you have an addict who has been addicted to whatever, crack cocaine. The reality is that his mind, right? His mind is frazzled and frayed, and his heart is broken and shattered in 1,000 pieces. So you can say, hey, just stop using crack cocaine, and he may be able to lay that drug down, but he's going to pick up something else because you haven't addressed the systemic problem.
When we talk about crime, how closely do you work with the justice system here in our city? I mean, are you hooked in?
Yes, sir. So Purchase Not for Sale, we are married to the justice system here in our community and to law enforcement. We work as a team with the DA's office with a diversion program we have for women in prostitution. We work with the local FBI Human Trafficking Task Force. We sit on that task force, which is pretty crazy for an NGO to sit on a law enforcement task force. Is pretty insane and lots of fun. It's way cooler than it sounds, but so we do that. We work with law enforcement. We work with the court system, the Caddo juvenile system. So we're pretty tied in.
I'm CL. We'll take your phone calls here in the next segment. 320-5335, 320-5335. If you want to ask a question or speak to Cassie Hammett, director of the Hub Ministries, give me a call, 320-5335. I want to thank, again, some of our sponsors, Transmission Automotive. Go see Dean Barbario at Bossier City Harley-Davidson. I want to thank Chevyland, Giuseppe's Holmes Honda European, for sponsoring this segment, CL Bryant Show. Back in a minute. CL. Back with you on this Wednesday evening, a rainy day in the jewel cities of the Arklatex. I got to tell you, the Lord works truly in ways we don't understand. I see Cassie all the time. She and I actually attend the same church, and I mean, she's one of the darlings of my pastor, and of course, our friend Ben Pirtle, and a mutual friend of ours, Ben Pirtle, and Callie Pirtle. And it's amazing how you don't hook up, and you should, but you have. And folks, I want you to know how to hook up with this ministry. We've received calls asking how you do it, and if you want to call in and speak with Cassie, I'd invite you to do that. 320-5335, 320-5335. She's going to be with us for just one more segment. But I want you to spend the time now giving us an idea of what there is for them to get hooked into, what type things you might need, and we're going to give the website out again. So tell us, how do we hook up with you?
Yeah, so one of the things that the Hub is the most proud of is that we give a pretty easy avenue for anyone, really, to get involved in the lives of the poor and women and children who are in the sex industry, victims of sex trafficking. The whole gamut of what we do is volunteer run, which is pretty fun. And so I'll kind of just break down, the quickest way possible. We use volunteers on a daily basis. Now, when I say volunteer, that can be that you come serve a meal, you come run one of our stores, you mentor a woman in one of our programs, or maybe you're a professional, maybe you're a counselor, a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse. My husband always jokes, don't tell my wife what you do for a living, because I will figure out a way to use you for free. Yeah, so pretty much any kind of thing that you can bring to the table. It's so sweet of the Lord that he gives us things that all of those things can be used in someone's life. And so if you have any kind of skill or ability, legal lawyers are extremely important, doctors, counselors especially, those are things too. And the best way to do that is to go to thehubministry.com. There's a really easy way. It's just you click on get involved. That's it. And you just fill out your information. And then obviously the other one that no one really likes to talk about, honestly, is the money. Some people are maybe listening, and this happens a lot, where they're like, ugh, I could never see myself, going down there. But the reality is, especially in the summer, like, I don't know why I'm saying this so truthfully, but the summer is the hardest time for us financially, because everyone's using their extra money and things on traveling and things like that. So for us, money for us isn't, we celebrate when $100 comes in. We jump up and down. I mean, it's because what we know is when a check comes in, it goes directly to someone's life. We have a very low administrative overhead. We less than 8% goes to administrative costs, which is super low. All of our staff positions are direct services. So any kind of money that comes in, the reality of what we know is it is going to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just going to pad a salary. Like, it's going to do something, and it's going to do something pretty major. And so on our website, there's a give now, right? The first thing you see on our page is you can give. And I don't care talking about money. It doesn't scare me to ask for that.
Right, you got to ask for it. You got to ask for it.
Yeah, because the reality is there are people listening who, as I was driving over here, actually, weirdly, I felt like I was supposed to say something about money, because I feel like people aren't bold enough to do that a lot of times.
Right.
I hate doing it, honestly. But the reality is that money is what it takes money to do everything that we do.
Well, sure.
Right. And our hands often are tied because of finances. And so we just believe we've never gone without what we needed, but we really would encourage people to think about, like, how can I place my finances somewhere where I know that they're going to be exponentially valuable, right? Because that's the big thing. Yeah.
And folks, I believe it. Not only does our church believes it, my pastor, Pastor James A. McManus, believes that, and others believe that. And obviously the judicial system here in this city believes in the work that you are doing, and she is absolutely right. All ministry, Jesus knew this. He had a treasurer himself, and he had a treasury himself. And so any ministry that is taking on, especially one that is taking on this type, and this is a responsibility. This really is, because you are trying to reinvigorate people into society. And that is a responsibility. Give us your website once again. I want to thank you for coming on with us. And believe me, you will return regularly to the show. I believe that my producer is already whispering, hey, once a month, and to remind him. So, okay, go ahead.
Our website is thehubministry.com. So THEHUB ministry.com. And everything you need to know is on that website. Thehubministry.com. Thehubministry.com. Everything you need to know is on that website. I ask you, make an appeal to you myself. Help them. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Cassie, God bless you. I know that you're going to fight the good fight. Thank you.
I'll see you in church.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be back to talk about some of the day's events and how they are affecting you. Bailey's Fine Jewelers, Davtac Custom Arms and Ammo, Dale's Paving, Bretches Insurance, Rimmer Electric, they bring the light, and our good friends at Air Innovations. And Michelle, I understand that our good friend Reggie Abear, Air Innovations, he's putting in an air filtration system just for this studio so I don't get choked up when I come in here.
That's right.
And Reggie, we want to thank you for that. And anytime you want your air cleaned or your house, and somebody who knows what they're doing, you want to call Air Innovations. That's Reggie Abear. And folks, any number of our automobile dealerships, if you want to get in a car, you be sure to go and visit any of them that are advertised on this show. And remember this, when you help them, you help us. And I'll be back to tell you about my travels that are coming up here over the weekend and throughout, give you sort of a calendar for the rest of the year. Going out this weekend, if you have a special date night, someone special that you want to take out, I can't think of a better place than my friends at Giuseppe's, the very best Italian anywhere. I'm CL. I'll be right back. You know, that was that for me. There are certain interviews that I do that always refresh me and give me, I guess, hope again in what we can do for each other outside of government. You know, we used to be the type of people who were about improving folks in the community, not making them codependent. And what is happening too much is that, and this is exactly what has happened in our society, is that we have given over our responsibility, even for our children, y'all, even for our children, to big government. And once they have that foothold, once they're in there like that, they then want to continue to have that type of control. And when you see a president of the United States give out a mandate of what you're gonna do in your public schools for as far as your children's sexual enlightenment is concerned, when you have a president giving that, you know one thing, that they want to control your child. And they want to control your school district. In controlling the school district, they control the thoughts of your child. And that is something that we do not want to occur. But now there is an underclass that walks the street. Some of them are homeless. Some of them are tragedies that we overlook, and sometimes simply by identity of being on the street, we make judgments about how they got there. And conservatives, even though we're the most giving people, Christians, we're the most giving people. Republicans are the most giving people. But yet, in so many instances, when we look at ministries like the Hub that I'm talking about here, and the purchased, not for sale, that type of ministry, we can also be the most judgmental people. And that judgment that we make then causes us not to see properly. Are you hearing me? Because once you make the judgment, then what you do next is based on what you have judged and how you have judged. And sometimes that is improper. Sometimes you've made. And so I am really refreshed so many times when I am able to do an interview like we have done with Cassie Hammett here today. And that brings me then to another side of this coin, a side of the coin that we tolerate. You see, we find ways not to tolerate some of the people that Cassie helps, but then we find ways to tolerate other things. And sometimes because we don't know about it. But let me tell you about this. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, federal agency, employs federal workers, caught again watching porn at their desk. They're caught again stealing. They're caught again in sexual harassment situations. Caught again bringing drugs to work. And guess what the backup is on the cases that are pending right now to be litigated against federal workers with the Environmental Protection Agency who want to claim and have jurisdiction over our water and your property if you let them. 90. This isn't just 2 or 10 or 25. There are 90 cases of various sorts of misconduct that if you were not an EPA worker, a federal worker, you would have yourself bounced to the curb. But yeah, we tolerate this. We're tolerating it. We're tolerating it. Yes, we are. You know why I know we're tolerating it? Because none of the people who have been brought up on any of these charges here that I have just mentioned, watching porn at their desk, the sexual harassment, theft, drugs being brought to work, marijuana on the premises, that type of thing, they all still have their jobs. It's almost impossible to fire them once they're in the EPA. Oh, they get counseling. You pay for it. Oh yeah. Yeah, they get counseling that you pay for. And you pay for these people to this is systemic. But I tell you what they get bounced for if they had. I tell you how they could lose their jobs. They put a Bible on their desk. Yeah. If they put John 3:16 up in their cubicle, they might get bounced out of there because of that. But not for sexual harassment, not for watching porn on. And by the way, that is your computer that they're watching that on. Yeah, that's your computer. It's your cubicle. They're federal workers. They work for you. Of course, the EPA shouldn't exist anyway, but it does. You're paying for it, so it's yours. And this is what's going on. And there is no one who is really bringing us to heel except one senator in particular, Jason Chaffetz of Utah. Good friend of my friend, a friend of a friend. We have a mutual friend, Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, who's been on this program a couple of times. Got to get Mike back on to talk about this. And I want to also talk about Mike's brother, Thomas, who we understand is on Trump's short list to be nominated, if Trump should win the presidency, to the Supreme Court. That would be totally cool. I know Thomas. I'm CL. We're going to be back on the other side of the break with Noah Wall. I'll be in Columbus this weekend with them. Be right back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL, back with you on this Wednesday evening, broadcasting throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. And part of the reason for that is because of the foundation that we have. It is called our Constitution, and it's a good short read. It's a great read, and it's a short read. You should read it. And on the line with me now is the National Grassroots Director of an organization that I am associated with and have been for over 7 years now. And that is Noah Wall. Those of you here in Louisiana, where we emanate from, will remember Noah. We did a tour, a listening tour throughout the state, and we stopped off in various cities, and especially folks right here in my hometown of Shreveport. You turned out real good for us over at Centenary and the listening tour. He's back with me. He's a regular on the show, and we're headed for Columbus, Ohio over the weekend. Noah, would you tell the folks, welcome back, first of all, and tell the folks what are we doing when we get up there?
Hey, CL, it is awesome to be on. I always love being on your show. We are just about to start what I think is going to be a really, really great tour. We're about to start the Constitutional Revival Tour, where we're going to be going around the country talking about what we are going to do with this upcoming presidential campaign. We're going to be talking about what we can do to make sure that constitutional principles are held up no matter who's the president of the United States, no matter who the next Supreme Court justice is in the United States, and make sure that we fill Antonin Scalia's seat with an absolutely constitutional conservative. We're going to make sure that we are doing outstanding work in making sure that we are serving this country, to the best that we can in terms of
absolutely
fulfilling our duties.
And you know what, Noah,
to do.
And also fulfilling what we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, should be doing, and that's knowing what's in the Constitution. And so where are we going to be? What's happening? Where are we going to be?
Well, so we're going to start out in Columbus, Ohio. That's going to be this Saturday. We have an outstanding crowd coming. We're going to be at the Columbus Convention Center in Columbus, Ohio. For anyone who's interested, for any of your listeners who are interested, welcome to go to freedomworks.org and get a free ticket. These tickets are free, of course. Looking forward to getting folks involved very easily to this tour. So we're going to start out in Columbus, Ohio. We've got, obviously, we're looking forward to having you there, CL. We have our good friend Andrew Wilkow, of the Wilkow Majority on Sirius XM, going to be there, and this is going to be a great event. We're going to be having, but this is just the first stop in this tour. We're hoping to have another stop in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're going to be stopping in Des Moines, Iowa. And, CL, I think we need to get one of these done in Louisiana.
You're absolutely right. Noah, you just picked it right out of the air in my brain. And you certainly did. We got to have one here in Louisiana because this is still, regardless of what the rumors are saying, this is still a deeply red state. And it is a state also of great patriots. And, folks, freedomworks.org, this is one of the reasons why you want to go there and become a part of the largest grassroots organization in the country. 6.9 million is what we boast, but contribute. Because as you heard the grassroots director, the national grassroots director, say that this constitutional tour, the one that we're doing in Columbus, is free. And you can come and you can be exposed to your heritage, your birthright. And it's all contained within the Constitution of the United States. Be entertained at the same time. Andrew Wilkow is not only informative, but he's entertaining as well. So come and be a part of it. You folks who are listening to me, I have listeners in the Ohio area. I want you to tell somebody to go to freedomworks.org and RSVP, not too late to do it, RSVP, and meet us there at in Columbus Ohio. Now, Noah, I wanted to just sort of get your take on. There were a few, I guess, prospective Supreme Court nominees. Of course, nobody's won the presidency yet, so nobody's nominating anybody. But there's some interesting names that were batted about. One was William Pryor out of Alabama, 11th Circuit. Diane Sykes, I think, of Illinois, 7th Circuit. And then a friend of mine, Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee of Utah, his brother, Thomas, Senator Mike's been on the show a couple of times, and Thomas Lee, Supreme Court there in Utah, those are conservatives, and no doubt about it. If in fact, we should win the presidency and we get someone who will appoint conservatives to the court in the frame of Scalia, tell us how important it is. Noah, can you stay with me through the break?
Oh, absolutely.
Stay with me through the break, because I want you to tell us how important it is to get someone within the same vein as Antonin Scalia was in this next go-round if we should
Absolutely
gain the White House. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Back with you in just a couple of minutes. Noah Wall.
There must be some kind of way out of here, said a joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief.
CL back with you. And on the line with me from parts unknown within the great land of our nation is the National Grassroots Director of FreedomWorks, the largest grassroots organization in the nation, 6.9 million. Become a part of it, freedomworks.org. And Noah, selecting the next Supreme Court justice, is it understated or overstated that how important this selection is in this as far as this upcoming presidential election is concerned? Shed some light on that for us.
It cannot possibly be overstated. You could tell me, if you told me, CL, that the only thing the next president did would be selecting the next Supreme Court justice, and I'd tell you, you know what, CL, that's probably the most important thing they could possibly do. Even if that was the only thing they did, that is quite possibly the most important thing they could possibly do in their presidency. There's no question.
Wow.
Supreme Court has the ability to completely rewrite any law they feel like at any point. And the only way we can possibly maintain our system of government is if we have people who are originalists, who believe in the Constitution as it was written. And I'll tell you what, there's no way Hillary Clinton is going to appoint someone who believes that.
So, Noah, if the wrong persons, because the next president most likely will get at least 2, maybe 3 picks, if the wrong persons are selected, then tell the folks about how our nation could be dismantled. Is that overstating it? Is that waving your hands around with some people? When I go into this, they think I'm being hysterical. But there is a dismantling that could come about if, in fact, the wrong persons are selected for the Supreme Court. Speak to that.
Yeah, think about the in the last few years, the type of issues that have been decided by the Supreme Court. Obamacare, same-sex marriage. You name the issue, it's been completely decided by the Supreme Court. And think about what we're talking about now, transgender bathrooms. You go down the list of things that Obama wants right now. If they get to pick the next Supreme Court, whatever it is that they're putting on the table, they're going to be able to decide.
Wow. And folks,
they're going to be able to set the agenda for the next decade or next two or three decades.
Wow. Folks, this is serious. And all of you listening to us in the Columbus, Ohio area, Cleveland, Columbus, in Ohio, come out and be with us in Columbus. Noah, give us the time and place again for this weekend where you and I are going to converge up there with some of our closest friends, along with Andrew Wilkow. Tell us one more time.
Absolutely, CL. It is Columbus, Ohio, at the Convention Center downtown, 1 p.m. on Saturday. Hoping that we can get all your listeners out there. Thank you so much for helping us out with this. Listen,
God bless and keep you. Noah, I know that you're fighting the good fight and that you're going to fight the good fight. And I'll talk to you soon. See you in just a couple of days, buddy.
Thank you, CL.
Thank you. All right, folks. That was Noah Wall, the National Grassroots Director for FreedomWorks. And we are going to be in Columbus, Ohio at the Convention Center there. Come on out and be with us. My good buddy Andrew Wilkow is going to be there, and my fellows, many of my fellows with FreedomWorks are going to be there as well. We do this type of thing all the time, and we have a tour, constitutional tour, that's we are launching out on right now. And Louisianians want to do one here. I want to do one here. Michelle, we got to do one here. We'll do a constitutional tour right here. And we'll get them here. And let's see, there are all types of folks that we could get to come over for that type of thing. Well, Noah was talking about the Supreme Court nominees, and truly the list that Donald Trump has put forward. And listen, folks, last night, Hillary won, eked out, about a hair of her chinny chin, she eked out a win in Kentucky, lost in Oregon. That was expected. But this is what really puzzles me about Bernie Sanders. And I'm not saying that Bernie should get out. In fact, I'm glad Bernie is in. I'm glad that he is not bailing out because, hey, he's winning and he's winning and he's winning. She's losing, but yet she's still winning. Bernie doesn't see the rhyme or reason of that, and but he need to know one thing. Bernie, if they carry Hillary off to jail in manacles, the Democrat Party is never going to allow you to be president of the United States. I just don't think so. So I do understand why they're asking you to get out, because the message to you is there's not a snowball's prayer in Hades that you will ever be the nominee of the Democrat Party. So they're saying that you might as well get out. That's what they're basically saying. I'll be back in just a minute to wrap it up.
In worn-out shoes, silver hair and ragged shirt and baggy pants, the old soft shoe. You jump so high, and then he lightly touched down. I met him in a
CL, Here to wrap it up on this Wednesday evening. I certainly hope all of you are safe out there on the highways and hedges of the byways of the jeweled cities of the Arklatex. You know, Donald Trump, hey, he may just, I never thought I'd say this, he may do okay. Let me tell you why I think so. The businessman in him is beginning to emerge. He did what he did to organize this business. He did what he thought he had to do, rather, to get himself in a position to do business. Being a businessman would that it was on the financial scale as Trump. I think I have the smarts as Trump, but haven't turned it into the coins that Trump has. But being a businessman, I understand a little. I'm beginning to see into the method in his madness, and some of you Trump supporters, you're beginning to see me. I haven't put the jersey on yet. I really haven't, but I am beginning to see something here that gives me hope. Reached out and he talked to Dr. Kissinger, Henry Kissinger, today, a man I have met. Dr. Kissinger is incredible foreign policy mind. Helped Richard Nixon open up China again. Definitely did. And that was a tough nut to crack. That was Kissinger. Trump is reaching out to an establishment guy like Kissinger. And that's important. And you'll see him doing that more and more. Noah was just on with us. Noah Wall, grassroots director of Freedom Works, was just on with us. He pointed out how important it is if just one thing that the next, hopefully, Republican president can do is choose the replacement for Scalia and maybe one other. Then that would be good to secure the republic into the future. On the other hand, the party goes to Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton or even Joe Biden. And Bernie, remember what I told you, not a snowball's chance in Hades that you're going to become the nominee. Give it up. I do understand why you're in. I admire you for staying. I admire you for being so upfront about who you are. Well, I hear the music, and that's the end of the show today, and I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our rights to speak our mind. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL. And may God bless and keep you all.
Sacrifice to keep freedom alive, and to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn. For those who wear the uniform.